Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montavilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Viking Opal 650. In this video, I'm going to show you how to wind the bobbin and thread the machine. So to start with, when you are winding your bobbin, you want to make sure and thread your machine the correct way. Now, I kind of lost my scissors, but I'm going to show you. You want to be cutting your thread up near the spool here with your scissors and pulling the thread out at the needle when you change your thread. That's because if you pull your thread backwards out of your machine, lint could over time get built up in the tension discs, and you don't want to have that happen. So always the thread, just think of it, it always should be going towards the needle. So we put our thread on here, have the thread come from underneath, because as it's winding off the end, as it's kind of reeling or spiraling off the end, it's less likely to kink with it having it come from underneath. Put that on there, put our little spool cap on there, and notice it's the size of the spool cap that fits the spool. For larger spools, in your accessories, you have larger spool caps, so use the appropriate one for your spool. It will flow off of there better. And then I like to give it a little bit of room, because these cross-wound spools of thread, when they start to get empty, they tend to want to rotate a little bit. So I leave enough room between the spool cap and the spool so it can do that. Okay, so I'm going to show you first how to wind a bobbin. You start by going over here, and that puts it behind this little guy here. And then we go under this little wheel here. Now that is a tension disc. It's going to help put a little bit of tension on the thread so that it winds nice and smoothly, see, like a spool is nice and smooth. So that's important right there. And then take your bobbin. Now it has a right side and a wrong side, so that the side that's upright has the H for Husqvarna, and it has a little hole right there. You're going to put your thread through the hole like that. That will, from inside to outside, have the thread tail coming upwards. Make sure your thread is in that guide, and then pop that right on there. So you see that guide, that's important too, because that's all the guides are important. Once you have this on here, push this to the right. Now notice it says bobbin winding on right there. That's great. So hang on to this thread like this, and you can push your start-stop button. It gets going. I'm going to make it a little bit faster there. Now at this point, you can cut off your thread and keep winding. Misplaced my scissors somewhere. Oh, here they are. There we go. Cut that thread off like that. Now I waited to cut that little thread tail off until I had made several winds around that thread. That anchors that little thread in there so that when it runs out, it'll run out cleanly. Okay, but we didn't leave any thread tail there. And then we can just keep on winding like this. And then however full you want to make your bobbin, you can stop at that point. If you want to make it all the way full, this little stopper here, the thread's going to, wraps the thread, it's going to push against that stopper, which in effect pushes this away and stops it from rotating. That keeps it from overfilling. So once we push this back, that bobbin winding disappears, and then we can go over here and cut our thread right there. Okay. So to put your bobbin in, I'm going to take my other one out right now. Start with your, well here, in case you didn't see that. To take the cover off, you just slide it towards you like that. Also, the little cover has this little magnifier in it, which is really kind of useful for threading things. Now, when you put your bobbin in, have it so that little H is upright towards you, and also have your thread tail so it's to the left. So if you think of it, it looks kind of like the letter P. You want to put that in there like that. There's a little slot over here to the right. You want to get it right down in that, and then stop it from spinning to give a little tension on the thread tail. Pull it to the left. You should hear that little click. That means it has, the thread is now in the thread path where it needs to be in the bobbin case. Then you take your thread, put it up over here, that little hook there, and around to this hook here. Now, hanging onto that thread tail, slide your bobbin cover on and pull the thread to the left. That last little hook has a little blade under it which cuts the thread tail, leaving it just the right length to get started sewing. You do not need to bring your bobbin thread up through the needle plate in order to start sewing. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. Okay, so for threading your machine the regular way, again, you start the same way, hooking it over here, under here. Now this time, we're going to ignore that guy. We're going to go up this way, down here. Now there's this little divider here. That, it doesn't really matter what side your thread goes on, as long as you're just using regular single thread. If you had 2 spools of thread and you're doing twin needle sewing, then you'd have 1 spool here, 1 spool here, and you'd have your thread on either side. That helps keep the 2 threads from getting tangled, but this way it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we come up here. Now I like to give a little bit of uphill tension as I'm coming around the take-up lever. The take-up lever is in there, and on old-fashioned machines, you can see that's the part that kind of goes up and down. It takes up the slack as the stitch is forming, but this is inside the machine, so that's why I gave it a little bit of uphill pressure to make sure it gets in there, and you can see it is in the take-up lever. We come down here. There's a needle bar guide right there. The hook is on the left. Make sure that you get your thread right into that needle bar guide. Now here comes the magic part. We're going to thread that needle. So we take the needle threader, pull it down, and notice my thread is right under that little hook. And then we swivel it forward, pull the thread across, and into this little fork here. Now hold this up at an upward angle like this, swivel it back, and gently lift it up. That little loop of thread means now your needle is threaded. We can cut off the excess right here at this little cutter on the side, put the thread under the foot. Now make sure that it's actually under the foot, not just between the toes like that. I'll show you this here. The foot has the A foot has a little slit on the side here, and that's where you put your thread under to make sure you're ready to sew. It's always important to do that. Like that. That's needle threading and bobbin winding. I hope you found this video to be helpful. If it has, give us a thumbs up. And if you have questions or comments, you can leave those in the area down below. We have lots of other videos on this machine and on other machines here on our Montavilla YouTube channel. So keep watching. Thanks for watching today. Bye.